Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. You're an amazing human being, OP, so in mankind's name, I thank you. The world most definitely needs more people like you. Beautiful story. Thanks for sharing. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I'm not the person you're looking for. My dad was recently in the hospital for about 8 weeks for a brain infection. He's back home now and doing very well. I don't live nearby, but I came to visit almost every day. The hospital and where my dad lives is in a town in Southern California where it's been averaging 110 every day and rarely gets below 90, even during the wee hours of the morning. The way the hospital is set up, there's a roundabout in front of the main entrance with a valet service, and there's a parking garage for patients and visitors just across the road from the main entrance. I'm terrible with distances, but I'd say it's maybe 30 meters from the garage to the hospital entrance. One day I'm visiting, and as I'm driving into the garage, I notice an older gentleman leaning against a pillar as though he's waiting for someone before crossing the rows of parked cars. I park, and then as I'm exiting the garage, I see the same old man outside, now leaning on half a wall with his hands on his knees. I ask him if he needs any help, and he tells me he's visiting his brother, but it's so hot that he doesn't think he can make it across the street to the entrance. I told him I'd be right back with a wheelchair and help. I ran inside the hospital to the main entrance and asked the security guards at the front desk where the visitors sign in if they have any volunteers in a wheelchair who can help this guy. They basically said no, and it'll be a while before they can find someone. Obviously, I can't let this guy just sit in 110 plus degree heat, so I look around the lobby and lo and behold, there's a wheelchair available, so I grab it and head back to the old man. I get him settled in the chair and we head into the hospital. We get our visitors' badges and they tell him where to go to see his brother, but it's literally on the other side of the hospital. This poor guy, who I found out is pushing 90, barely made it 10 feet in the parking garage before needing a break. So I asked security, okay, I'm not heading that way, so can someone else push him there? Again, no, they can't leave the front desk and there are no volunteers on staff right now. I ask, what about the hospital transport team? Nope, that's just for patients. I'm like, wow, okay, this is some BS, but I have a little time, so I'll just get him to his brother's room, and then the nurses will probably be way more capable of finding someone to help this man back to the parking garage. At this point, I haven't been outside the ICU and didn't know the hospital very well, so they give me a map and off we go. I kid you not, it took us 5 minutes to walk there. This poor dude would have never made it on his own. We ended up having a very lovely chat about PA. He was wearing a Pirates hat, and I mentioned I went to college in Lancaster. And when we got to his brother's room, a very nice nurse thanked me and took over. I felt super good about myself, not gonna lie. It always feels nice to do a good deed. About a week later, I'm coming out of the garage, and now there's a different old man, this time with an oxygen tank, sitting in the same spot as the first old guy. Here we go again, I thought. Same deal. This guy's much younger, 60s, but has heart and breathing issues and just can't make it across the way in this heat. This time I know where the extra wheelchairs are kept, so I go to the lobby, grab one, pick this dude back up, and we head inside to check in. He kept asking me questions about being a candy striper, and I told him I didn't work for the hospital, but I didn't mind helping him. Mind you, I'm wearing like workout shorts and a tank top, so I definitely don't look like a volunteer or someone that works in the hospital. He then complained about my wheelchair choice because it didn't have footrests, but it was the only one left, so oh well. Turns out he's at the wrong building and needs to go basically around the block to another clinic on campus. Now, luckily, he was there to check in as a patient so the transport team could come help this time because this man was much more abrasive. Also, could have gone without the multiple, "You're way prettier than any candy stripers I've seen" comments, but whatever. I told him I was going to leave him now and good luck because this time I was in a rush to meet with my dad's docs. As I'm slowly backing away, he just kept blabbering about how young people have gone to crap because no one would help him until I came along, how I'm such a good candy striper, and the younger generation is doomed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I eventually just loudly interrupted and said something like, "Okay, sir, the transport team will be here shortly and you can wait here with security. Good luck," and walked away. So far, I haven't come across anyone else who needs my wheelchair valet services, but I think it's safe to say it's time for that hospital to hire some actual volunteers. You did some real good deeds for those guys, and thank you. I'm sure we all hope someone would be as kind if our family members or ourselves were in that situation. You sound like an amazing human. Bless you for being so kind and patient. God places us where and when we need to be. And our second story. Don't use price labels. I want it deducted from my bonus. I used to work for a small, locally owned supermarket chain with a small level of bureaucracy and a high focus of getting stuff sold. After a few years, we were taken over by a national chain, which introduced much bureaucracy, where emails and phone calls from the bottom to the top would be lost to the ether and left unanswered. Their focus was highly on image, with staff at head office who seemingly worked to ensure similar-sized products sat next to each other on each shelf so that it looked nice. They also changed the shop manager's incentives. Their bonuses were the operating budget of their store minus wages, expenses, and written-off stock. So obviously, we were now operating on a shoestring budget, so the manager got as much money as they could. Before the takeover, we had an award-winning butcher department that worked with local farms and catered to customer requests. The new firm immediately closed the counter and filled chillers full of pre-packed sliced meats instead that we frequently discounted to prevent them from going to the bin. One time, we received a dozen cases of a high-end cut of meat, way more than we would usually stock of an affordable packet, and therefore at risk of running past its sell-by date and being thrown out. As it was a new product, we didn't have a price label for it, and waiting a weekend for the system to update, I emailed head office for a label and filled the chiller using a pricing gun left over from the takeover to label up each individual packet. We sold a few by the time I came back in the following week, but was pulled aside by the manglement. The area manager had been in to inspect the shop and was horrified at the ugly labels and demanded they be taken off the shelves until a label was ready. I explained the issue, but they wouldn't have it, so I took them down as instructed and left in the big fridge at the back of the store. They sat there for a month until they expired, after which someone else recorded them for disposal. A few days later, someone at head office noticed the enormous increase in wastage and reported it. Down the chain it came. Red-faced area manager storms in to shout at stern-faced store manager, who in turn calls over the tannoy for me to drop everything and get to his office. I'm just waiting for the label, I told them both as they searched for a scapegoat for the 3,000-pound write-off. I've since had similar at other employers where department heads had bonuses tied to sales, but didn't like me pricing up produce, so hardware would sit and gather dust. I'm paid by the hour, no bonus, so I'm not going to argue the case. Sounds like management succeeded in shooting themselves in their own foot. I don't think the bonus even needs to be part of the story. You did the right thing and everyone lost. I do wish you figured out a way to sell it for a massive discount before it spoiled, though. And our last story. Hey boss, your job is mine now. When I applied for this new job as assistant team project leader, I had a lot of people warn me about my new boss who worked there, from people within the company to clients. I brushed it off and said I'd rather make my own judgments when I meet them, as a way to assert myself and not get off on the wrong foot starting a new job. Turns out, everyone was right. This guy was not only rude towards the staff and clients, but used that as a screen to mask his own incompetence for the position. Things were not just bad, but horrible. The office we were in was disorganized due to his stubbornness, and the team was torn down so bad that even the simplest jobs would take hours to complete. My boss also had a real sinister way of saying too much about his personal/dating/sex life to me. I guess to make small talk? To which I would respond with, I don't care, and quickly stuffing my face back into whatever work I was doing. He would do everything from scream at the staff in front of clients, tease and bully the team for things like not being able to count, when really he missed a few sales figures in a report, and sit in front of a computer for hours not doing anything. He also would call and text the team at any hour of the day for no reason at all, and it was to the point where several team members confided in me that they were looking for new jobs. Our team was neurotic and depressed, but also very young, so they were very unsure about what to do about the situation. My boss also had a very disgusting hygiene problem. was very overweight and would often forget to flush the toilet. So what did I do? I did the only thing I could do in my position. I couldn't do anything directly, myself being the new guy, and friends advised me that moving on my own could be looked down on within the company. Instead, I started talking to my team one-on-one and empowered the crap out of them and coached them how to write letters to HR and to basically stand up for themselves. Things were moving quickly because I could see HR was talking to my boss about it as he started coming in acting cold and throwing things against his desk and basically having a difficult time. For 3 years, he had ground down this team to his control, and he was losing it. I had the team documenting everything while I just sat back and watched. He never clued in I was pulling the strings as I just kept my nose down and said I was too new to really know any of the team outside of our projects. It also helped that I didn't talk much about myself and just did my job and nothing more when I was there. One day, he came in and threw a keyboard against his desk and screamed, "I don't want to lose my job," and then fell on the desk crying. I stood there and felt horrible for a moment because, hey, it sucks to see anyone like that. I told him to go take a walk and cool off for a moment, and he locked himself in the bathroom for 3 hours where I could hear him crying. Eventually, someone from HR came into the office and asked where he was, and I pointed at the bathroom. They went over and helped him grab a few things off his desk, and they walked out together. We were told he was taking a 2-week leave of absence for medical reasons. Soon after that, my big boss came in to tell me that my boss wasn't with the company anymore and that they would be working hard to find a replacement, and if I wanted to apply, I agreed and took my boss's place. Side note, I took my entire team out for a dinner after my boss was fired, and they've all thanked me for helping them. I just hope as they grow, they start getting more years into them, they don't see another guy like this, or at least know what to do to not let someone walk all over them again. Now for my opinion. This story's a powerful tale of dealing with a toxic boss and turning the tide in a challenging work environment. Your strategic approach to empowering the team and letting HR handle the situation shows effective leadership. It's commendable that you maintain professionalism even in the face of your boss's disruption. Overall, your actions not only resulted in a positive outcome for your team, but also served as an example of how to handle challenges in the workplace. Well done. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.